I see people post a lot of questions on the forum about how to take a base and then export it so they can bring it into another game. So I'm going to do a little tutorial that's not so little and is very complicated and very time consuming to do exactly that. The beautiful thing about it is, though, is once you do it once or twice, it becomes really easy to do after that, once you have the software installed and set up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to build an awesome base. Voila! I mean, you can't get any better than this. I've got a window hole, I've got walls, I've got a door, it's even got a roof somewhere in there. So I want to export this base because it's just phenomenal, and I know I will never be able to duplicate this in another game. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to the forums. Now, what I'm looking for in the forums is I'm looking for the game modification section. And that can be found right here. And under the game modification section, you're going to see a subsection called modding tools. And in modding tools, you're going to see something called HAL's Prefab Editor. And it is probably the greatest piece of software ever created in the history of mankind. The moon landing was a joke compared to what this thing can do. So I'm going to click on HAL's Prefab Editor on the very first post, and you see HAL 9000. Now, he's officially listed as the tools provider for fun pimps, although he pretty much just does this on his own for fun. So it says, here's how to download it, here's how to video it, .NET framework, and then some other stuff. Exporting a prefab by Hot Rod. I haven't actually watched the video Hot Rod, so I have no idea how it compares to what I'm doing right now, but it's probably very similar. So I'm going to click download, and I'm going to open the file. Now Windows is going to open a zip file for me, and it's going to put all these nice little files in here. 7 seconds, 6, 5, 4, whatever. Now one thing I want to note is this .NET Framework 4.5 thing. A lot of software that people write use this. Basically what it is it's a package of DLLs and commands and stuff like that that programmers can use to kind of help assist with their programs so they don't have to basically reinvent the wheel. It's very important for this piece of software, and it will crash if you do not download it. So you'll see that the actual download site for it is straight from Microsoft, so there's nothing hokey about this. You pretty much want to download it for a lot of things anyway, and you may already have it installed in your system. It is highly compatible, in-place update, blah, 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 blah. Microsoft bullshit. So download that, install it first, very important, and then now let's worry about the HAL's editor. So it opened up the zip file for me, and I know if I close my browser, this is all going to go away, so I'm not going to close my browser. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the window key in R, and I'm going to hit C:// or you can put Explorer. It doesn't really matter what you put, but I like C:// and that way I can go ahead and bring up my C drive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder for it, and I'm going to call it testing. Sure, why not? So I'm going to go to that folder. I'm going to copy paste all these files that are in the zip file to the folder, and that's pretty much how you install the editor. Alright, so there's a couple other things I need to do next. So I'm going to go to my C drive again. This time, while leaving the HAL's editor installation folder up, I'm going to go to program files. I have a separate Steam account that I use for my editing. A lot of people just copy the game folder over, but it doesn't make a difference. There's lots of methods you can do. You can do it with your straight game folder. But I'm going to go to my Steam account. I'm going to go to Steam Apps, Common, 7 Days to Die. And I want to go to the 7 Days to Die data folder. Then I want to go to Managed. And you're going to see here is that there is an assembly C# file already here. This is the game's default one. Well, I want this one to replace this one. And only the assembly C# file. I don't need all this other crap. So I'm basically going to take my assembly C# file on my game folder, rename it to something called backup testing gobbledygook. It doesn't really matter because all I'm really doing is I'm saving the C# file that the game folder has, just in case I ever want to change it back, which you will want to. And then I'm going to drag assembly C# over, and I'm going to copy it over. Now what this does is that this allows the command sets from the editor to be in the actual game. Now this is literally a game cheat. You will not be able to join EAC servers with this file. So if you want to change it back, you simply need to hit F2, rename it to house editor, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. Again, you can call it gobbledygook 2. Take your other gobbledygook file, wherever I put it, I actually have no idea. Yeah, there it is right there. And then rename it back to assembly-sharp.dll. And it's going to ask me to change and say yes. Now I've just reinstalled the actual game version. So you can see the file size has changed because this is actually my editor version, but it's the same idea. This is actually my backup somewhere. You know, I don't even keep backups because who cares? So anyway, rename this back to back. Rename this one to the DLL. So now I have this version's assembly sharp DLL, or I guess I dragged it and removed it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this back. Anyway, long story short, this one is over here. So now I can close this. So now my 7 days file folder is officially cheated. If I try to join servers, like I said, EAC will kick you out and you will eventually get bans. So do not do this if you want to join servers. They will not appreciate it. And not that it'll work anyway if they have EAC enabled. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and actually run the editor for the first time. So I'm going to click it, click run, and it's going to say, I don't even have a location for you to install. Click OK to open settings form. Sure. So my 7 days of that location. I want to choose, what the hell is it? And I hate this style explorer. I want to choose my same folder that I chose earlier. In my case, it's under Steam 2, Steam Maps, Common, 7 Days to Die. So I'm going to highlight 7 Days to Die, click OK. And I'm going to put my Steam name, which is Guppycur. Feel free to add me, I don't give a shit. And then I don't need to worry about this other crap because I don't use it. Okay, voila! I have an editor. Woohoo! All right, so now we're good to go. And I can click Prefab Editor and I can do some cool stuff with it. But this isn't a tutorial for that. This is a tutorial that's going to tell me, hello. There we go. This is a tutorial that's going to show me how to export only. We'll worry about the Prefab Editor in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and close it, minimize the forums. You never know when you need to talk to somebody cool. And then I'm going to load up 7 Days to Die. This bears explaining. This is the important part about EAC. So when I go to 7 Days to Die, I want to show the game launcher and then uncheck this checkbox, because otherwise I'm going to get the black screen of death or the EAC teddy bear or something like that. This is something that people always forget to do, and they wonder why all I get is a black screen. Well, it's because you didn't uncheck this checkbox. You cannot run EAC version of this game with that editor installed because it is a cheat. Load the Fun Pimps menu. Watch some stuff go by. This menu takes longer and longer to load. This is on a pretty fast computer with an SSD. And yeah, continue my game. There's my prefab game. Alright, so the idea of what I want to do is to stand in the middle of my prefab, export it, and then it'll bring every chunk all the way from 0 all the way to 255. 0 is bedrock, or 3 below bedrock, and 255 is the skybox limit. And then I'm going to bring it into the editor and then go from there. Now I'm going to get an error message when I try this, but the first thing I want to do is want to make sure that the editor is installed and the DLL is working properly. So I'm going to go hit talk. I'm not going to hit console. This is not a console command. This is a talk command. I'm going to type BBB. Oops. BBB question mark. And see all these little lists of stuff I got up there? That means BBB is working. So I can type BBB help, maybe? No, BBB question mark. I don't know. There's your commands, though. Command list blocks info, blah, 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 blah. What I want is BBB claim. And it's going to tell me how to claim. But I don't really care about that part. So I'm going to go ahead and claim this, and I'll show you what the error is. BBB claim test. Oh, you know what? It actually did it for me. It's supposed to throw an error saying that I am not an admin. And what you're supposed to do then is Alt-Tab out, go into the editor, go to Backup Manager, find Navigain, find Prefab, click your name, and click Admin. Now, I don't actually know why it worked without having to do this, but I'm not going to worry about it. Probably because I've used that same seed name about 1 billion times and done the same thing, and somewhere along the way, Hal's editor has decided that it likes me enough to keep me as an admin. Long story short, though, that's very important that I do that. So I'll repeat those steps. Load the editor, go to Backup Manager. It's a Navigain game. The save name is Prefab. The player name is GuppyCur. That should show up. Now, sometimes this doesn't show up right away. So you may need to exit the game, wait for 5 minutes or so, and then eventually this will show up. So, and make sure that this admin box is checked. And click Save Player. And then I can close this back again. So, you'll see that every time I click Save Player, it reloaded the blocks, because I clicked it twice, and there you have it. So because it's set admin privilege for GuppyCur. Now, again, in a real scenario, you're going to get an error message that says only admins can perform this option or something like that. That's why you need to go back to the editor and check that admin box. Anyway, so now this is actually saved as a prefab, sort of. So now I'm going to quit the game. But I'm going to leave the game up because I like to Alt-Tab between things. And I don't want to die of starvation, otherwise I would just stay in the game. Then I'm going to load up the editor. I'm going to Prefab Editor this time. Woohoo! Wait the extraordinary amount of time it's taking to do this. Normally it doesn't take very long at all to do this, but something's up. Click File. And I want to choose Load Exported Area. Not open in memory. Not open from disk, not import whatever this is, but load exported area. Now that's going to bring me to my saves folder. And yes, my name is Rick. Hey, how you doing? All right, so I'm going to, another way to get here, by the way, is to go to the run command and type appdata %, and it's just like Minecraft. But anyway, so I want to choose the 7 Days to Die folder, saves. It's a Navigain game. It's a Prefabs, a save name. And where is it? It's in block backup. They're not in commands. It's in the users. Here's my Steam ID. And then there it is. Test TTS. This is actually a prefab. The problem with this prefab is it is larger than the prefab I just made. It has a predefined area as defined by these. Oops, not going to let me do it, is it? Used to. By these settings. You'll see in a minute. So I'm going to double click this area. There's already a file called test prefab folder because I've already done this before. Yes, I'm going to rewrite it. Now you see the prefab size is much larger than the one I want. Okay? So I'm going to use my mouse wheel, and what it's doing is it's changing these layers over here. So I'm going to go ahead and find the bottommost layer of the prefab, which is going to be ground right here, right? Here's asphalt. You can see there's desert ground and gravel. So this is gravel. I don't want this one. I want this one. This is my ground level because this has R wood block. It's listed right here when I hover over it. R wood block, right? So I don't want all this other crap. All I want is my prefab. So I'm going to use my mouse wheel again and scroll up through the layers. And you see there's my door opening. There's my window opening. And then there's my roof. And see the whole bunch of air back here. I don't want all that either. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the layers. Because on a large prefab, the more layers you have, this is what actually slows the editing down. So I want to make this as small as possible. So I start with the layers. So I'm going to go to the air layer that are right above my prefab. And I'm going to see it's layer 71. Then I'm going to click the far right hand number here, or greater than pipe symbol, to kind of tell me which the highest layer is. So I know 71 is the layer I want to start deleting the layers at, and 254 is through to the layers I want to delete at. So I'll go to Prefab, Remove Layers, from 71 to 254. Now what that's going to do is it's going to remove all those 100 and something layers. There, that was easy. Now this doesn't look like my prefab. Oh no, what happened? I look over here and I see this is layer 1. This is what bedrock looks like in the editor. So I'm going to go back all the way up. And I already know the number is around the 70s or 60s. There we go. You see all these are your ground layers. This is sandstone. And you can kind of get an idea of what's in a desert. Down here in layer 42, you got some iron ore, some lead ore. Now this is Navisgain. Kind of gives you an idea, like I said. This is where you start mining at, Navisgain. That's all the ore. Anyway, I don't want all that crap. I want to go to my first layer. Alright, there's my first layer. My first layer begins on layer 66. So I want to delete the layer below it all the way down to 0. So 65 to 0, right? It's prefab, remove layers. I want to remove from 0 all the way to 65. Now, the only layers I have now are my prefab layers. All 4 of them, well 5 of them if you count 0. Alright, so now I need to get rid of all the side stuff. Now you can hit F5, you can hit F6, you can do a couple other things. So I'm going to just show you the way in the menu. That way you know where to look. Remove left column is F5, remove right column is F6, remove top row is F7, remove bottom row is F8. So basically what I do is I hit F5 to get rid of that layer. Then I go down the row, F6. Now if I go one too far, you're screwed. There is no undo for removing columns and rows, so don't go one too far. When I get within a few of here, I slow down and I carefully just hit it. And when I say you're screwed, you can always just reload the, go to File, load exported area and do it all over again, but I don't want to do that. There, now my prefab is saved as a nice 4x6 prefab, and the only layers are the floor level. The first level, you can see this is a door. The second level, this is the top part of the door. It's blank here, but when the game generates the door, it'll generate the top layer, no problem. There's my window, there's my next story, and then there's my roof. There. Now I click File, Save. Now this automatically saves it to the game folder you set up earlier in the game. So now I'm going to go back and check it out. I'm going to continue my game. Prefab. Wait more, wait a little bit longer, and then now I'm in my game. So, that's how you export a prefab. Now I'm going to go place it down somewhere. Here's the thing about placing down prefabs. Wherever you place a prefab, it places at feet level. And so what you do is you want to point northeast. And this is where the corner, I'll show you. This corner right here, it's always going to go in that direction. Now there are fancier ways to use the commands to make it point in the direction you want to and rotate it and do all sorts of cool stuff. This tutorial is not for that. So I'll go to roughly where I want to stand. I face northeast and I know it's going to be placed right freaking here. That same corner I pointed out earlier. So I'm going to hit talk again. BBB, IP, test. Boom. Look at that. My prefab. Isn't that cool? So, let's say I want to save this one. I go, I type BBB, claim, test. You already have an area with that name. Okay, BBB, claim, test 2. That area overlaps another player's territory. Well, reason is when you go back to the settings screen, the backup manager, Navisgain, prefab, Guppycur, you see my claim size is actually set to 33 and I have a test area already set. So because I placed that prefab too close to my other prefab, it overlaps that test area. So I can do this live while in the game. I can literally take my test area, delete it, say yes, save the player, and then you remember in the game, reload complete. So now I no longer have that claim over there that extends over here because it's 33 blocks wide. Now I can claim a whole bunch of sizes. Just remember, the larger you claim, the slower everything gets because it's loading all those extra chunks. All of those extra chunks. So my default claim size is 105. I think the default's 33 as well, but I changed that for me. So I want to claim a larger area, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Here. Now, when I claim test 2, it takes a much longer time for it to make the claim because it's a much larger area. I shouldn't have chosen one that big. All right, so now that save is complete. So now when I go back to my editor, File, Load Imported Area, Test 2 is right there. But watch this. See how much larger it is? So I got to zoom out. So now I've claimed a much larger area. There's that house. Here's my 2 prefabs. There's some other crap. And oh my goodness gracious me, this is crazy. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about as far as why you want to remove the layers first, so you can see how slow it is if you don't. That'll work. So I'm gonna hit F5, 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 F5. Now see how much slower it's going? Because it's having to do it from all those extra layers. And this is where it gets easy to accidentally remove columns and rows from your prefab because you spammed it a few times and you just accidentally do it. Now it's stopped. However, if I go to remove the layers, what is it, 0.50 or something like that? Wait, I'm on 69, so I'm going to go 0.59. So I remove those layers, and it's actually doing something. Prefab, let's see. Now I want to remove 1 to 194. Remove layers 1 to 194. Let's make it, what my thing was like 5 high, right? So I want to move from 5 to 194. There's my prefabs. Now it's a whole lot more manageable. Now I'm going to spam F5 and see how much faster it is. F5, 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 F5. So you see, that mechanic of removing the layers before trying to edit the prefab and edit the columns makes it a lot quicker to actually edit the columns. A lot more manageable. And that's that. I don't really need that prefab. You get the idea? So I'm going to come stand over here, and I'm going to stand right over here, right at this ledge, where there's a little dip there. And I'm going to turn my FPS on. IP test 2. Now I'm going to port that really large prefab. Let's see, a block should not be started at height. It is, as it is. What's that message say? Fucking T, where is it? Test 2 cannot be inserted at this height as it is too tall. Lower it by 66 blocks. Well, that's a new message. Oh, did I forget to save it? I did. I forgot to save it. Go back to Prefab Editor. Yeah, I forgot to actually save it. So what happened was because this is from bedrock to sky, so it's 256 blocks, whatever, 255 blocks. Because I was already starting at a higher start point, it didn't allow me to insert it because it's just too big. It didn't used to throw an error message, but I'm fine with that. So let's see, I'll do this then. What I do, I remove the layers 0 to 59 or something like that. I don't really care. Wait for it. And then I'm going to remove layers. Let's see, I'm going to start at this one. Remove layers from 6 to 194. Now it's only this many layers. But watch what happens. So I'm going to save it. Go back into the game. Stand on the ledge here, and then do it again. And you see my FPS is up there, it's 95 naturally. So it takes much longer time to load because it's a much larger prefab. And another problem you can come across is that prefab, because it's a two-dimensional plane of just those 5 layers, is going to span across this valley. And I can't move if I wanted to until this loads. It just takes a while. It's going to span across that valley. And if it does not have the structural integrity to hold itself up, it's going to fall. And here it is right here. See? That's the prefab is saved. And then I just fell through it because there's not enough structural integrity for it to actually hold my weight. So, one cool thing you can do is have fun with it. Oh man. I guess you actually need to have rockets in your inventory. Who knew? Once you get a chain reaction going, all the blocks will fall, your FPS will drop significantly, and it's kind of cool. I guess there is enough structural integrity for it to hold itself up. You get the idea, though. This rocket demo has nothing to do with my tutorial. And anyway, that in summation is how you import and export prefabs. And you can do it from any prefab in your inventory. You can do it from all the stock prefabs as well. So if I go to my 7 Days to Die folder, let's see, was it Steam 2, Common, 7 Days to Die. It's under Data, Prefabs. Here's all the prefabs that the game uses, and including a bunch of ones that I made or other people have made. These are the ones from the combo pack, so there's a whole bunch of them here. Let's find one that has an easy name. Gas_station 1. Alright. Gee, I've always wanted a gas station right here. I point northeast, BBB IP gas_station 1. And then I have a gas station. Now you will note that it is too high. Now we'll get fancy. But there is the gas station though. So I'm going to first see how many blocks is it too high. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, wood frame, that'll work. Because I just want to see how high it is. 1, 2, it's 3 blocks too high. Gosh darn it, that just sucks. And there's no way to reverse that. Well, I screwed up. I could reset the chunk. There's a whole bunch of things I could do. I really should have looked at the prefab first. Open the memory, gas station. And that way I can see that it's actually got, well, I'll show you. Here's 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers before ground. I should have seen that it's 3 deep before I even tried to import it. Because I really can't do anything about this now. Or can I? So now I know that it's 1 prefab, three prefabs too high. So I need to sync it some, right? So I'm going to hit F3 because I'm in my DM mode. And I'm going to see my coordinates. If you look in the upper left hand corner in player, my coordinates are 683, 66.1, minus 1106.2. So I'm going to write that down somewhere. I have pens and papers all over the place for these. So it's 683.9. I'm going to round that to 684. It's 66.1. So round it to 66. And then minus 1106.2, which is I'm going to round to minus 1106. These are my prefab coordinates. Hit F3 until this goes away. BBB IP gas station 1 684.66 minus 1106. Except for I want it to go 3 lower, right? So I'm going to change that 66, which is my Y coordinate up and down, to a 63. I'm going to hit it. And then boom, now I got my gas station and it is where it needs to be. Now, a lot of times, what you'll see is the old prefab, the roof, like, well, you can see it up here. Because all I did is actually insert a prefab lower than the current one. The current one is still there, at least what's able to. And in this case, it's little lights. So it's just a little touch-up I can fix, no problem. I can rocket launcher it, for instance. Well, if I actually hit it. Ha! And now I have my gas station at the correct height. And I don't really need that anymore now, do I? So, voila! Prefab inserting 101 and 102.